Pylon listeners, we are back. We are recording on August 11th, and you will notice, well, let's get to who's here, actually, as far as the Pylon crew. So I'm Big Z representing Detroit Lions, and then we just got one other one, Barney, representing the Bears.
Joint practices today with our preseason foe for Sunday. It's going to be a good one.
And we might still be in a little bit of preseason mode here, too, Barney. For listeners that aren't aware, Remy, the Vikings representative for the Pylon, works in the media, and sometimes his schedule is all over the place, so he can't be here. And then Kinger, he's getting sick of getting so sick of the Aaron Rodgers talk that he got an actual illness, so he's unable to make the podcast tonight as well. But that's all right, because we're going to be just focusing on everybody's two favorite teams, the NFC North anyways, the Bears and the Lions. And we know the Lions take the crop usually, and then everyone else follows after that. But there'll still be plenty to talk about for sure, because there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in training camp, at least from my eyes, and I'm sure from Barney's eyes for the Bears. Like Barney, I saw that video of Justin Fields rolling out to his left and throwing a cross for a touchdown. I forgot who he threw the touchdown to. I don't know if you saw that video.
Riley Ridley.
I'm sure that got you, that revved your engines a little bit. I don't know if that's a good throw in an actual NFL game, but it was cool to see, I'm sure, from a Bears fan perspective.
It wouldn't be a compliment without a little bit of backhandedness from you, Big Z. So.
You're probably right about that. Nonetheless, Barney, we were talking right before this, and both of our teams have released their unofficial, official, whatever you call them, depth charts. So I want to throw this over to you first. Did anything catch your eye about your team's first release of the depth chart? This is right before we head into the first preseason game. By the way, first preseason games coming up this weekend. The Lions play on the NFL Network at 6 o'clock Eastern 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern on the NFL Network against the Bills. That's in Detroit, and that's on Friday. And then your Bears, Barney, playing at noon Central, also on the NFL Network against the Miami Dolphins. I just want to throw that out there in case listeners are not aware of where to find their games.
Yeah, and I think I misspoke. That's on Saturday.
Right, yeah. The Bears are on Saturday, Lions on Friday. And then Minnesota playing at 3 o'clock on the NFL Network right after that Bears game at home against Denver. And then Green Bay playing at home 7 o'clock against Houston. That game is not on national television because nobody wants to watch the Packers, right, Barney? So throwing it back now to the depth chart, though. What caught your eye as a Bears fan, or did anything, or is it about what you expected?
If you're paying attention, the last couple of weeks, the two positions that were up for grabs were, everybody wants to talk about the QB position, but like I said, right now that is Andy Dalton's. However, I think there are a lot of people in the media that think that he can be unseated just during these preseason games. Justin Fields has apparently been that good. That's no knock on Andy. He's played great.
Andy Dalton.
Our QB, our QB room is it's better than we've had it in a long time. So, there's a lot of optimism there. But the two positions that were up for grabs, wide receiver 3 and cornerback 2. It was it comes down to Damiere Byrd and Marquise Goodwin for that wide receiver 3 position right now. The unofficial depth chart has Goodwin there. They both have been stringing together a lot of good practices. They're kind of the same mold. They're just they're smaller but very, very quick wide receivers. Nagy's trying to get a lot of speed out there.
Remind me where Bird's from again.
Byrd, we got Byrd from
right. Yep.
Last year. So, and Marquise has been hopping around the league, but I think his last stint was at San Fran. But right now they have Goodwin there. He's getting some really good chemistry going with Andy Dalton. I kind of had him slated there, but again, it was up for grabs. We don't really know who's who's going to take that spot. Daz Newsome has come back from his injury, his collarbone injury, and he's starting to play really well. But I don't see too many snaps happening for him in the beginning of the season. But the other position, cornerback, this one was for concern here for the Bears. Cornerback 2, our big acquisitions were Trufant, which if you want to call it a big acquisition, he's kind of the guy that we were hoping to put and just glue into our secondary. But he's been a little banged up, nursing some injuries. And then there's Artie Burns,
shocker.
who we
Trufant
got
has
last
injuries.
year.
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, right. Picking up right where he left off. But both those guys have been nursing some injuries. So second year Kindle Vildor has been able to get out there and impress. He's a real quick guy. There's been some clips going around of him laying the wood on some receivers. I mean, I love it. I also don't love it because it's like, come on. Now,
no, fire. I love it. You're battling for a spot on the roster. Everyone's...
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. And, there's a lot to like from him. He stepped up for Jalen Johnson late in the last 5 or 6 games last year in the season when Johnson was having some shoulder issues. It wasn't like he blew us away, but he played pretty solid in those games. He improved each and every week. And so right now he's slated as the cornerback number 2. And, I'm pretty pleased with that. That's gonna definitely be our Achilles heel on defense. But hey, I mean, you got to give these guys a shot if you're drafting them and they're going out there and impressing. You got to see what he can do. So, those are our 2 positions. What do you got going on?
So
over at,
Detroit, baby. Well, I'm as much overturning this roster had this offseason. Not a lot of surprises, I would say, necessarily on this depth chart, especially what we've seen out of the first couple of weeks of training camp. Like Lee McNeil listed as a starter, our 3rd-round draft pick. He actually made the Athletics freak list. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Barney. Writer every year they wait for a couple of weeks of training camp to kind of hear about these guys, and then they see their size and weight, and then list them like the top 10 biggest athletic freaks that they expect to wreak havoc in the league. And Lee McNeil made that list for I don't know, for what it's worth. Like DeForest Buckner was on there in the past and stuff. So it's a good list to make. It means nothing. It's just a list. But nonetheless, he's on there.
Is that strictly for rookies?
I believe 1st and 2nd year guys. But he does. Yeah, they don't put JJ Watt on there every year. It'd be a boring list every year.
Right. Yeah.
But Lee McNeil, watch out for him, 3rd rounder. He's been wreaking havoc in training camp here so far, especially going against All-Pro Frank Ragnow every day. I think that's really important reps for him too. The other ones, not big surprises, but Amani Warrior as the 2nd cornerback. I had my doubts coming into the season if he would kind of cement that role, and he has more than cemented it by all accounts. Him and Okudah should be 1 and 2. I thought Quinton Dunbar, the veteran quarterback, might challenge for that, but he hasn't been there pretty much this whole training camp, dealing with some personal issue of some sort. And then Tracy Walker and Will Harris, 2 safeties that have struggled mightily under Patricia, both listed as starters this year. So hopefully a new defense will bring out the best in them, because that is my number 1 concern for this defense is the safety position. I am a little worried. I drink the Kool-Aid, Barney, better than the rest, better than most, I should say. But even saying that, the safety spot still scares me a little bit. Going a bit to offense, wide receiver is kind of open. Tyrell Williams, Rashad Perryman. The biggest one maybe, they list 2 wide receiver slots, right? So it's hard to see 1, 2, 3, 4. But Khalif Raymond was listed above Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I've heard a lot of good things. I mean, we'll get into that, the good, the bad, and ugly here in a moment. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, I thought, might be ahead of Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond kind of a journeyman returner in the league who also plays like 4th, 5th wide receiver on teams. Right now listed as our 4th, 5th wide receiver. So that stood out to me. So that was it. Otherwise, a lot of what do you expect?
And as far as that wide receiver battle goes, it would shock me if Amon-Ra, wouldn't carve out a real big piece this year for that Detroit Lions offense. I liked him. I've liked him for years now when he was at USC. I just think he's a very smart, just really, really talented slot player, right? So I like him a lot. I've seen a lot of things just coming out of the Detroit Twitter and all that stuff. Just about him playing well, but I don't want to steal your thunder in case you're
well, I mean, let's transition, Barney. Let's go to the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly. But the good. Let's start with the good. And we're going to transition right into it. Amon-Ra St. Brown in training camp has been nothing but spectacular, apparently. He hasn't dropped a pass yet by all accounts. A guy that stays later than anybody on the field to take receptions off the jugs machine. This guy has been battling. And by battling, I mean like stirring up some physical fights in practice, leaping over Okudah in one-on-one drills. So he has definitely made a name for himself in this training camp, somebody that's on everybody's radar. I think by the end of this season, he carves himself like as a number 3 wide receiver, if not the main slot target. Because by all accounts, too, he is Jared Goff's second favorite target in training camp overall here. So I think that says a lot. Now, there's been some injuries that have allowed that to happen. And that'll be in my ugly section, most likely, and we'll get there. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, definitely good. The Lions' offensive line, nothing but spectacular, which is what we are looking for at this time. We'll see it in the preseason game. It looks like the Lions will be playing like the first quarter with their starters. So we should see a lot of production on the offensive line. TJ Hockenson living up as the best player on the offense. And then flipping it to the defensive side, the good. I mentioned it before, but Ali McNeil making a lot of noise. And then Julian Okwara, winning a lot of one-on-ones. That's been encouraging. He apparently loves the spin move a little too much. It's a really good spin move, but he needs to up the repertoire of pass rush moves. Hopefully he can do that before the season starts. And then I mentioned it before, but Okudah and Awarrior have been, by all reports, very, very good and taking giant leaps forward compared to what they were doing in training camp last year, especially Okudah. Okudah, last year we heard constantly he's falling over, getting beat deep. That is not happening this year. Now, is that because we don't have Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones in camp? Instead, it's Rashad Perryman and Tyrell Williams. Hard to say. But at least they look good, and that's all I need right now. I need that positivity. So that's the good for the Lions. Barney, how about the Bears? Give me some good.
Yeah, defensively, we look pretty sound up front. Right now, Eddie Goldman is out because of COVID.
He's still out? He's been out a couple
Tonga,
weeks, right?
Yeah, he's been out. I mean, I don't understand the protocols, to be totally honest with you, but he hasn't rejoined with us. And if you remember last year, he sat out because he's a big guy with asthma. So I don't know if they're just trying to ease him into this and whatnot, but Kyrie's Tonga is stepping up at the nose, and he's been pretty formidable. As far as our defense goes, just as a unit, the entire team is really jazzed about new up-and-coming defensive coordinator Sean Desai. They like the schemes he's putting out there a lot more than the last year that they had with Chuck Pagano. Yeah. This is kind of getting them a little bit more aggressive back, with what Vic Fangio would do, right? They're seeing a lot more game planning going on and just more of the X's and O's than base defense, sort of. So it's nice. Everyone's really jazzed. We just got Eddie Jackson back. Gotcha. He was kind of nursing some injuries, but he's out there now, and The defensive side of the ball, I think, will be back to being a top 10 unit, possibly better, as long as our guys like Eddie Goldman and our starters can stay healthy. But as far as offensive goes, again, I'm going to touch the quarterbacks. I mean, dude, I can't say it enough. Every day keeps getting better and better with our QB room. All the beat writers, I mean, they say this was Fields' best day. This was Fields' best day. Every next day is Fields' best day. Today they had a joint practice with the Miami Dolphins, and he connected twice, 2 long balls to John Vay Johnson. Touchdowns, just right in stride. One of them was about 50 yards, and that has some legs with it because right now our offensive line is in shambles. Make no mistake, the offense didn't look tremendous versus the Dolphins defense with Brian Flores out there. But it kind of was expected. These quarterbacks for the Bears, Don in the orange, they got to get the ball out way faster than they want to because as far as this joint practice is gone, both defenses absolutely dominated the offenses. When it comes to Justin, he's every day there's new clips of throws that he's thrown out. It's just encouraging. We've been the oldest team in the league, and we haven't had a 4,000-yard passer. So, I mean, that just shows you the poor quarterback play that we've had.
You haven't gone, this offseason, you haven't gone one episode without mentioning that yet.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do it until we cross that mark. Hopefully, the 17th game helps us, but there's a lot to be excited about. David Montgomery looks tough. Allen Robinson, he took a day off today, but there's a lot of good chemistry going on with both quarterbacks. And as far as just as an offense goes, I think we'll be a lot more clean and just a lot more enjoyable to watch because it has been an eyesore for the last couple of years. But outside of that, I'd just be kind of doing coach speak at this point.
And a lot of coach speak there. I mean, training camp is a lot of – it's usually you hear more good than bad, I feel, in training camp. So that's why when we transition to the bad here, I have less to report because there's just a lot more good that comes out. And until you see the games and actually see the results, there's a lot of, like you said, coach speak. Reporters only notice what as much as they can, but usually it's relayed to them more so. They don't even know what's going on in the field half the time, because they're too far away, can't hear or know what the play call is, blah, blah, blah. So my bad is probably going to Logan Stenberg of the Lions. Now, this is a 4th-round draft pick from a couple of years ago for the Lions, or last year, I should say, out of Kentucky. A really raw guy, kind of a nut. Like, he led the SEC in holding calls when the Lions drafted him. I didn't necessarily like the pick, and so far it's proven that. I mean, Dan Campbell has said nothing but high praise on almost every player he's been asked about. Logan Stenberg, he had some pause and said he had a lot of work to go, and that's what we heard last year. He didn't play a single snap last year on the offensive line. I think he got 1 or 2 special teams ones in, but I'd be surprised if he makes the roster. Honestly, it doesn't look good, and I have not heard much good about him. The other person I haven't heard much good about is Jahlani Tavai, but I haven't heard bad either. I haven't heard anything about it. And that's Jahlani Tavai, our inside linebacker. He was he's been around for a couple of years. This is his 3rd year. I don't think he makes the roster because I think Lions are looking for fast linebackers, and I don't think he fits what they're looking for. I could be wrong because the Lions linebacker core is still not super strong. They have some work to go on that going forward in their retooling here. But nonetheless, Tavai, someone I will probably be watching for on Friday, that's for certain, as far as individual performances go. Jahlani Tavai, I would recommend all Lions fans to watch against the Bills and see if he makes any plays. Because in the past, or 2 years ago, he started to, then he dipped off, and then last year was just an abomination. And then the other one, our kickers. Our kickers. We got rid of Matt Prater this offseason. He signed with the Cardinals. So we had Randy Bullock of the Cincinnati Bengals we signed, and then Matthew Wright, who was a replacement kicker for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. Matthew Wright got cut this week, and we signed Zane Gonzalez, who was the Cardinals kicker last year. So the Lions they didn't cut. They did not re-sign Matt Prater. The Cardinals do, and then the Lions take the Cardinals old kicker. I'd rather have Matt Prater if it was me. But I guess the Lions rather spend that money elsewhere in their quote-unquote retooling. So that's the bad for me, Barney. I didn't get to the really damn ugly yet. We'll get to that in a moment. But how about you? What's the bad?
The bad and the ugly are kind of the same here. I'll separate it a little bit. Just as a whole, our offensive line just looks atrocious right now. We have Elijah Wilkinson playing left tackle. We got him from Denver. At left guard, we got Whitehair. He's out there. He's a starter, so that's nice. We got Mustafa at center. He's a starter. He's a second-year guy, undrafted. He played really strong for us, but again, at this point in his career, he's not a huge staple, although he's shown a lot of good signs for us. At right guard, we're hurt by our injuries again. James Daniels still out. So right now, Alex Bars, who was manning that last year, he's out there, but he's kind of the same as Mustafa, right? Nothing to really gloat about. And then right tackle, Ifedi's been out nursing a leg injury, a hamstring injury. So we have our seventh round pick from last year, Lachavius Simmons, there. So as far as a quarterback goes, especially week one, if these guys don't get healthy, Aaron Donald, I'll tell you what, I would not want to be Andy Dalton or Justin
That's
Fields,
a tough week one matchup for you on the inside, that's for sure. We saw what happened last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough, but I will say I'm just going to go right into it. The ugly, there's reports came out, and I was really scratching my head about Teven Jenkins here. He showed up in rookie the rookie mini camps and all that, and he played, but there's no pads. There's no real contact there. So, he was able to go out there, but he's been out for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it was all back soreness, and when you're out for back soreness for over a week, it starts triggering my mind. Is it really soreness, or are they just downplaying an injury? And apparently, his last 3 games at Okie State, he was hobbled with a lumbar injury, a lower back injury, which was, I believe, part of the reason why he fell in the draft. Right. And so I'm not trying to lose out on hope. It's just it's concerning because the Bears, they have such a hard time drafting offensive line talent, and back injuries are no fun. And it just kind of is giving me PTSD of when we signed or when we drafted Chris Williams from Vanderbilt in the first round, a couple years back, probably 7 or 8 years back, and he probably more than that, to be honest. But he after drafting him, he didn't play a single down until he had to have back surgery, and it's like, dude, are we about to go down this path again? But Nagy's still optimistic about him. They have a plan in place, but again, that's all stuff that they're going to say. So we really don't know what we're going to have with him. I don't know if it was a leap of faith of them drafting him at that point, or if they just knew that this was something that they can get control of. Again, nobody's really. It's kind of like a hockey injury. It's like it's a upper body. Like that's all they're giving us. They're not disclosing anything, and it kind of sucks because this offseason, these last couple months, it's been something that the Bears have been. Bears fans have been pretty optimistic about.
He hasn't taken a snap in training camp yet, right?
He hasn't taken a single
Strange.
snap. So, it's worrisome. But then again, this isn't about being great this year. And whatnot. Obviously we want to win all the games we can, but we also recognize that we have a lot of work to do on all positions, and we're not really sound on.
If the
too
Bears
many
don't
of
make the
them.
playoffs
So,
this year, is Nagy fired?
I don't know. I mean, I think if there's a lot of factors come into play. If Justin Fields is a bright spot and he's actually putting in work, and has a lot of really good games, but maybe for whatever reason we're not winning. As long as that offense starts to improve, I think that Nagy will.
I mean, look at
shots, but at the same time, the Bears brass is like I don't think they have a backbone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not like. I think the fans might have a different interpretation, right? But as far as their comfort with the Bears brass, I think they're pretty safe, unless it's just like a colossal,
I mean, look at the Chargers last year, though. Justin Herbert broke all rookie records, and then they still fired the coaching staff. So that might not be if that happens. That still might not play out if they don't make it to playoffs.
True.
He still might get fired.
True. But. I don't know. I mean, it's worrisome because you don't really know anything, and back injuries are no fun to talk about because that's probably the worst injury you can have in football. So that's about it right now for the ugly. But I will tell you just because I know this name will ring a bell. Tease Tabor. He's with the Bears today, or with our team, and apparently he had a pretty vicious hit on Alan Hearns today at the joint practice, and it was just this close to being an all-out brawl. Apparently, Brian Flores. Alan Hearns wanted all the smoke. Everyone's reporting that he was ready to just, 1-2 him. And Brian Flores had to just grab him by the horse collar and drag him back himself. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny being Tease Tabor, who I
he was on your practice squad last year, right? Oh man, what a Bob Quinn's worst draft pick for sure. The former GM of the Lions who was fired this past offseason. Oh, second round.
That was in the middle rounds, right?
Yep. Nah. Just completely horrible in every imaginable way possible.
He was a beast in Florida. It's just he just can't. I don't think he can hang with.
There was
NFL
a reason
players.
People were concerned about his extremely slow 40 time. It was like 4.6, 4.7. And people said, "Oh, it might have been an injury or something like that." Nope. That was his true speed, as it turns out. So the 40 can mean something still, to some degree. Bob Quinn said he made that pick all on his own, kind of usurped everybody in his building. So all the scouts and everything like that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, not good. Not good. So I'm gonna go to my damn ugly, and that is it's kind of along the lines of yours too, Barney, in terms of injuries. It's just been bad. I'm sure this is a lot of NFL teams. That everybody deals with injuries, but. And maybe I'm just noticing it's come back to me again, but this offseason, or this training camp, just a lot. Like Deshaun Hand, a guy we have high hopes for. He's dealt with nothing but injuries. He said he gained 20 pounds this offseason, like a muscle. Struggled with injuries in the past. And he finally, just after saying he was in the best shape of his life, 17 hours after that press conference, he goes and hurts himself and walks off the field.
Oof.
And this is a guy that was like defensive, like all rookie team, but then the last couple of years he just hasn't been able to stay on the field, and it's a struggle. And then Kevin Strong, John Penasini, Levi Wunzarike, our high second round draft pick, Levi Wunzarike, also dealing with sore back. Barney, also, although he does not have a history of it like Teven Jenkins does a little bit, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But regardless, the Lions defensive line. Throwing out just random names I've never heard of just to get bodies on the field at the moment from injuries. Then there's Quinton Dunbar I mentioned hasn't been there for training camp yet. That is a guy I was expecting to possibly compete for starting quarterback with Amani Warrior. He hasn't even been there, and not because of injury, just a personal issue. A guy named Cornelder, not a big deal. Quintez Cephas, Tyrell Williams, Brashard Perryman, all these guys getting hurt. Quintez Cephas hit his head on the turf, I guess, pretty good. That's always concerning. Jamar Jefferson, our 7th-round running back out of Oregon State. Love
that
I know you do. Yeah, he won you money, right? Oh yeah. And you wanted the Bears to draft him, I think, but I think at that point you were just reaching for a name that you like because he won you money at some point. But nonetheless, he's actually really good this training camp, catching a lot of balls out of the backfield, kind of like a 3rd-down back role. And I was looking forward to seeing him on Friday on the first preseason game, but now he hurt his ankle. So just a lot of injuries, and it's kind of hurt the looks that we get to see at practice. So that's what I consider very ugly. Just when these guys aren't on the field getting their work in the preseason. Some of these, it doesn't matter as much like for the veterans, but when you see the rookies go down, that's when you're like, oh, like I like Teven Jenkins. This is, he's got to learn the NFL offense. How do you throw him in a starting role when he hasn't even been on the field for one snap in the preseason? You can't.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Not. I mean, I've been pumping the tires on just like being optimistic about this offensive line, and each one of them just keeps going down. It's like, what?
Yeah, right.
Is going on?
So Barney, we're at the half-hour mark here, but before we go, I just wanted to. Did you get the chance to see Dan Campbell take the mic at Ford Field for the Lions practice at Ford Field? They gave him the mic, big crowd there watching the practice, and he was he's like a WWE wrestler already, kind of the way he talks and is entertaining. But you give him that man a microphone in front of a full stadium, and it was just hilarious. He was making like a comparison to setting up a fire on like a Friday night with your buddies. You're sitting by the fire drinking a beer, but you know what? We got to stoke the fire. We got to light the flames, and then at some point, the flames are going to die a little bit. Then you got to pour gasoline on the fire and just light that mother effer up. It was just hilarious. I still love Dan Campbell. He drinks the blue Kool-Aid harder than me or even on my other podcasts. So I love it. I'm here for it. I hope it translates into wins. I have no idea if it will, but right now it's a whole lot of fun as a Lions fan, at least. I imagine from people outside of Detroit, they might think it's just like kind of a clown show or a sideshow type thing. But I'm telling you, Lions fans, I would say like 85% approval rating right now. Just especially coming from the Matt Patricia era, where there's nothing but like it was sadness and anger. And now we at least have this guy.
He was trying to be Bill Belichick. Yeah, no emotion, no nothing.
Yeah, now he's back in New England. So, and then Bob Quinn's like working for the Browns as like a personal assistant or I don't know, some weird role. Either way, he couldn't get back in New England, unfortunately, like Matt Patricia could. But
so when Friday comes around and you guys are having your game with the Bills, what's one thing you're hoping to see? Is there a specific person that you want to let loose and get some?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier Jahlani Tavai, linebacker that's on the bubble. People had high hopes for him when we drafted him in the second round, although people thought it was probably 2 rounds too early to draft him at that point. So I'm curious if he can do anything to make the roster. I'd like to see Jeff Okudah out there. And then just on the offensive side, see kind of what our scheme looks like and what we expect. Am I going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets? Who is getting those reps? Who's getting reps at fullback? I don't know. That's what I'm kind of looking for. How about you with the Bears? Fields?
Kind of the same. I mean, it's definitely Fields, right? Nagy is not holding back, at least to us. He's saying that he's going to have ample amount of opportunity in these 3 games. He's gonna play a whole lot more. Nagy's taking a lot of heat during the preseasons because he's known for maybe just 1 or 2 sets, like even in the second and third game, right? And he's sitting starters all the time, and it was never a focus for them. But he's saying right now that Fields is going to have plenty chance, and I really think this QB battle, although I think that no matter what, Andy Dalton is the week 1 starter. for more reasons than just him being a veteran, but also the shape of our offensive line. But I am very excited to see Justin Fields out there. But I will say, I'm going to throw one line out there. I know I said I probably wouldn't, but the over/under for the Bears-Dolphins game is 35.5, and I'm telling you, the under should be
cow, that's
very, very
yeah. I do like the under there too, Barney, because
If it's anything like today's joint practice, I mean, it was just both teams, nothing but sacks. I mean, it was just like there was no plays being done. It was first reads and 3-step drops getting thrown out there.
And I can speak for both of us. I think in this just with the first preseason game, don't get injured. I don't want to see any major injuries out there. That's always number one concern, I think, for these coaches. Oh, man, right, Barney. Right. So we got some football to look forward to this weekend. Hell yeah. Yeah, we're less than a month away from the start of the NFL season, so it's really ramping up here, buddy. I'm excited. I know you're excited. I know our listeners are excited. Kinger and Remy, they're excited. So, just a lot of good stuff going on. As summer might be winding down, but that means football is ramping up. So don't get too sad if you're a summer lover. But anyways, all right, Barney. I think that's gonna wrap it up. So, Pylon listeners or new listeners, please subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. Please subscribe. Please leave a review. We'd really appreciate that. Instagram at the Pylon, Twitter at the Pylon. Please follow us on there. We will be ramping up our social media posts, that's for sure, as the season progresses. So, thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. Have a great weekend watching your team play football for the first time this year. And I look forward to the start of the Lions 2021-2022 Super Bowl season, Barney. I don't know about you.
I'm going to throw a goofy little wager out here, all right? To open up the podcast next week, the team between us two, the team who scores the fewest amount of points at our preseason opener has a shot.
All right, I like it. Fine, let's do it. Why the hell? What the hell? I have faith. I have optimism. This and Kinger and Remy aren't here, but they're included in this too, and we'll let them know.
All right,
we'll let them know because I would guess that the Vikings score the least for some reason.
One tie, all tie. If the bottom two tie, everybody shot.
I like it. Perfect way to end this, Barney. Excellent. All right, so thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great weekend. Enjoy watching your teams, and we'll be back next week with all our reactions.